Hey, it's Chris. Saturday morning, just chilling with my morning espresso. And I decided to do some audio journaling. And I've been trying to do that more because I sort of learned when I was doing part of my overall, journey of personal transformation. One of the things, I had to do a very deep examination of certain parts of my life. And it had to be very thorough and very exhaustive, and it took me about 30 hours. And I had decided to do that on video. Okay, it was AA. It was, I think, one of the early steps where you look at all the people that you're mad at and things like that. Maybe not the best approach, but a good idea in a general sense. But anyways, I did that step on my own because I was supposed to have someone to guide me, but I didn't. Or a sponsor, I think. I never had a sponsor. And anyways, I did that on my own, and I did it on video. And I remember just laboriously going through everything and talking it out on video, and it was so wonderfully helpful to me. And so I'm thinking, like, it's time to get back to that video too, actually, now that I think about it. I actually intentionally deleted it. And that was, like, to this day, I still regret it. But at the same time, every time I regret it, I remember that it was for the right reasons, and I still stand by those reasons. But, you can regret something and still know it was right. You can have both feelings. Because I don't want to ever go back to that, right? I don't want to see it. I don't need to. Because working through it was the thing that counted, not the clinging to it. So yeah. And today I'm thinking about what I'm doing in my life right now. And I feel like, to a degree, there's been some regression in my personal growth. In fact, I know there has been. I've been able to observe that in myself. Part of it's due to a bad injury I got and a lot of, like, very bad mental and anxiety symptoms that resulted. But a lot of it was also, I think I had previously anyways come to a feeling in myself that, okay, I'm finally done working at this. It's been 7 years or whatever at the time the decision or thought was made or whatever. Sometimes you make these resolutions without really doing it overtly. You just know you've done it. Why is my friend texting me? I sort of, felt to myself like, okay, I worked at this so long and so hard, and it cost me so much, and, like, it was grueling, and I'm done now. And I guess now I'm realizing, like, no, I'm not ever really truly done. I must continue to, in a loving and caring way, continue to employ all the wonderful things I learned. I had stopped meditating. I had become isolated. I stopped seeing people, talking to people. I kept all my thoughts and feelings inside. I wasn't enjoying the things in life that I know I love, like music and dancing and things like that. Partly because it was distressful to go do those things, like when you have a head injury. But some of it's circumstantial, and some of it's the way I haven't been loving myself the right way. Because I know when I do all of the things that worked for me and helped me, that were useful to me, life is just so pleasant and joyous and happy. And so I'm gonna work harder at that. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so I've been doing some new things. I've been trying to, so I started this new group therapy. It's called Peer Support access clinics in Winnipeg. So if you live in Winnipeg, I guess you would find your whatever access clinic is your whatever catchment area you fall in, and then they'll hook you up with it. So I just started last week, and it was very clinical. Like, we kind of all sat in boardroom tables and with masks and 10 feet apart, and there was a weird hotel carpet floor and buzzing fluorescent lights and whiteboards, and it was just but I've been through kind of like the more clinical side of treatment aspects before, so it wasn't unexpected, but it was a little jarring to kind of go back to a clinical setting, because I hadn't been for a while. And it was a lot of like paper delivery of information and PowerPoint slides and stuff, but which is always annoying. You know, anyone that's ever been through school and has sat through like a million classes where all they're doing is reading you PowerPoint slides, you're like, why would you get to a professional career and then just do that to the people you're serving after you just went through that for 7 years? But it's like, I don't know, it's a whole weird system. But anyways, I went to this thing, and I'm like, my attitude is I'll take the good parts that I'm looking at myself and saying that I need right now, and I'm going to try them, even though it's always a pain in the rear end. Because to me, I always have to admit a little bit of a personal responsibility, and it kind of stings always a little, but then I know it's like, it doesn't make me a bad person. I just have to admit that I'm still a good person. I'm allowed to have struggles. I'm not allowed to not be perfect. It doesn't make it always easy, but anyway, so I kind of said, all right, I'm just going to look at this information. I'm going to think, what are the things right now that I'm not doing according to this that could help me? And one of them was sort of finding motivation, waiting for motivation to strike you. And talked about that, and it sort of just made that reminder that was, you know, most of the time motivation ain't coming. You do it. And then motivation sort of strikes while you start, because it's sort of, now it's taken the fear, the power of the fear away. So sometimes motivation will begin when you're like, just start the process. It's like, it was getting this thing started and then motivation comes then. Or sometimes you have to just plow through and you'll get the motivation after, or you'll feel the wonderful benefits and you'll feel the pride. And it's like, yeah, I kind of forgot that. So I started to do a lot of the things that are stressing me out, a lot of the things I've been avoiding, paperwork, calling, I don't want to get too detailed, but my life is kind of messy right now. So I just said, okay, I'm going to do these things, and sure enough, as soon as I started to do one, it became easier to do the next, and I felt pride, and I felt empowered, and my head has started to clear. I don't know, it's been powerful. And then I'm thinking, like, yeah, that totally applies, and I intuitively know that lesson is correct, because like, I work out, and it's not for vanity, it's because I had an eating disorder and a whole history and things like that, right? So it's kind of complex, but I work out in my home with junk that I found on the ground, like water bottles and like broomsticks and push-ups and things. Yeah, I don't spend money to do it, but that's important to me. And people frequently who meet me assume that, oh my God, this guy's a gym bro and he just loves working out. And it's like, no, none of that's true. I hate working out. I hate every minute of it. From the minute I start, I just like, this sucks. And I'm having a giant, like, because, you know, I do a 2-hour upper body once a week, and I do a 2-hour core once a week the next day. And from the minute I start the upper body, I am having a giant argument with myself about how I can, you know, maybe do it tomorrow, or just, okay, I'll just, you know, just go. I'm not going to go on and on. But every minute I'm doing the workout, it's like, I hate this, but I'm just doing it. I don't hate it. That's like exaggerated terminology. I kind of just, it's a pain in the ass. Like, look, you're lifting things. Is this fun? To me, it isn't. You're just standing there lifting things, right? Or pushing your body, whatever, right? Like, that's not really the way I have fun. I have fun, like, figuring things out, puzzles and whatever, games, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna try to start doing that more. I'm gonna really like kind of push myself a little bit harder to seek out things, whatever programs and stuff are available out there, and like try to live in the world a little bit more and do the things that help me the most, and not worry so much about outcome. Because I know you can't make an outcome happen, and anytime you try, I have tried something, I had an expectation of outcome, and it was all, the outcome was usually wonderful, but it was never what I thought it was going to be. So I'm gonna have to remind myself a lot of that. And I've been thinking a lot about, no one's ever really heard my full story. I've never told anyone because I didn't feel it was necessary at that time. I felt it was important to live the story, to live the journey. Of getting sober and connecting to myself. And right from the start, it was always about kind of thinking about how far I needed to go and where I was going. Looking back, I realize I had a very, very small resolution of what was available for me to see. I was a very keen perceiver, always. But the scope of my perception was so incredibly limited that by definition, or by just automatic logical assumption, I couldn't possibly see where my journey would take me because I could only see 2 inches in front of me. How could I know? So I think I'm heading here, but really the moment I got anywhere near there, I had a slightly larger resolution of what I could see. And then I thought I was going somewhere else because I'm like, no, that's really the journey. That's actually where I should be heading. And as I got closer to that, the resolution and scope of my perception increased a little more. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand that the lay of the land is a lot different than I thought it was. Now I've got it figured out. Now I see it all. And that's just an ever-evolving thing. Every time I increase the resolution and scope of my world, my perceptions, I feel like I have this tendency to assume that now I know everything and I've got it solved, and that's good. And I think a reality check has dawned upon me that maybe this is an endless cycle. Maybe the resolution and scope never stops increasing. That for me, I think I need to be on a continual path of increasing the scope and resolution and awareness. I no longer conclude I really know where I'm going. Just know that I need to forge forward. When I started my journey, I lived in a world that was the size of a Kinder Egg. A grain of rice is more realistic. Emotionally. And I feel like my emotional world is just huge now compared to what it was. I've come to no longer, okay, this is kind of the unsettling part for me that I'm struggling with personally. I can now see like a fourth dimension of Chris. It's weird. I know that Chris is no longer a fixed person or a point in time, that it's Chris is like a timeline of growth from one being or one state of being to a different state of being. And there's so many transitory or interpola, I don't know what the word is, in between steps, gradients. Going from A to B had an infinite number of points and states between. And I exist somewhere in my consciousness and my emotional health and my being at any given time, somewhere along that timeline. And it's only because I've been a different person and such a vastly different person at these huge major milestones along that timeline that I can now see there's a place I once was and there's a place I used to go that was a little bit further down the timeline. And right now I'm here. And I don't always have to be here. And I can move up the timeline where I have more resolution and more connection to myself and more honoring my true self. Like as the timeline progressed, those virtues and qualities and characteristics became truer within myself. And so I need to climb back up that timeline to that point. And then when I get there, I need to keep pushing the timeline and expanding it and making it grow further. And things cycle. And we can see the patterns in our lives if we want to. The times I made the biggest leaps forward in my life was when I said to myself or came to the realization, hey, there is something that I want to do that's greater than what I'm doing right now, because I think I'm capable of more than this. The first major milestone of that for me was when I decided to stop, professionally painting and making good money, working hard and drinking hard, and just sort of go to school and that changed my life, right? Because I said, I think I want to do more than paint, which painting is a great job. I love painting even to this day. I just, at that time, right? And then I made a huge choice when I was in my 20s to say, I don't care. I'm throwing my cards to the wind. I'm gonna move to a new city and just figure this out. What is life? What is living on your own and being on your own and just accounting for yourself? Like I went out there for a job, but also to pursue my tech career. And that was just momentous for me, a huge moment. When I took a risk and invested in myself and said, okay. And there was other things. And I can look at each one of those. And then the pivotal moment where I was drinking like an absolute madman. And I was just an obliterated person. And I said, I can do more. There's something else than this. And that changed my life. And I feel like right now this is happening too. It's good. It's scary. It's good, but it's good. I'm a scrapper, and I know I'm capable of anything, and I know it's not the doing. I know it's the getting to the doing. But obviously the getting to the doing has been an issue. So I'm working on the getting to the doing. And when the getting to the doing has been worked on, I'll be doing the doing. All right, this is just a thought dump, and I'm glad I put it on video. Bye.